Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, promoting our school, securing our future, live from Compass Public Charter School here in beautiful Meridian, Idaho, courtesy of CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. Joining us now, Terry Ryan, CEO of the Idaho Charter School Network. Mr. Ryan, thank you for joining us.
Kevin, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You know, we take a look at the state of education, another school year, in public charter, private, homeschooling, a lot going on. What's the latest?
What's the latest is that we do have a lot going on in this state. We've got charter schools that are growing. We're adding new charter schools. We've got public districts that are adding more schools and more students here in West Ada. That's a great example of that. We do have private schools that are growing also and adding students. And in terms of the results, it's interesting to note that the charter school sector is the highest performing sector here. I do believe that the traditional district schools are seeing that as an opportunity to compete and are starting to elevate what they do as well. And as you know, we have some great private schools as well. You mentioned homeschooling, so there's a lot going on here.
Indeed. How does the education community as a whole, sir, handle the influx of people? We cover this all the time. It seems like, and again, not to politicize it, just again, commentary on the news, levy after levy, building after building. Charters are very different. They have to self-fund. They have to finance it themselves. But we see this all the time where, just in West Ada, they shot down another high school that was supposed to be built by 2020. But the overall strain on the education infrastructure because of so many people moving in.
So the districts have their own way of doing this. They can use property tax and those sorts of things. The charters
very,
can't.
very popular for raising property tax.
Yes, and the charters aren't a part of that.
Right.
So they have to do it in other ways. And I think sitting here in Compass, it's a pretty fascinating story. I've been here 5 years, basically working with them off and on for 5 years, and that's how long it's taken to figure out how to grow this school, even though they have a wait list, even though their results put them in the top 3 or 4 schools of all schools in the state.
Right.
So I think that we're involved in some of these facility deals. When you're a charter school, you got to put together a lot of different pieces. You got to get a lot of different people coming together. You got to private finance, be that bond, be that bank loans, and it does come out of your operating funds. And I think what's amazing is some of these charter schools are doing this, and they're 15 or 18% of their dollars, their operating dollars are being spent, yet they're delivering results that are some of the best in the state. So I think there are a lot of lessons we can actually learn and I think apply to other parts of our education system.
Well, and then you have some charter schools, and remember Rolling Hills, that, God bless those parents that fought to keep that school going, because you have people that are predatory, that take advantage of charters that give you this, hey, we're going to give you everything, and then we're going to charge you this outrageous interest rate. And you're thinking, well, no, this is education, this is public education, but you have those elements as well.
So that's right. You do have those predatory lenders that you have to look out for, and I think that's where I have a role, and people like me have a role to make sure that we're out there actually having conversations with the schools, having conversations with the people that are wanting to open schools. There's a thing called the State Public Charter School Commission. They're supposed to have their eye on that as well. But no, what you're saying is fair. I think what we're seeing now, though, in some of these partnerships that we're engaged in, that these schools are actually building buildings at half the cost or a third of what districts are building the buildings. They're quality buildings as well. And so, we need to learn, we need to be vigilant, but I think the fact of the matter is that if you look around the state in the last 5 years and see the schools that are being opened, these charter schools are doing some amazing things. They're going into buildings, old buildings, rehabbing them. There's one in Idaho Falls, the old building in downtown Idaho Falls was rehabbed for about $7 million, and I now have over 500 students in that. I know that community loves that. They love the fact that the building that was always a traditional school is now a school again. So, yeah, you're asking the right questions, though.
When we take a look, Mr. Ryan, at the state funding for charters, giving charters more power, if you will, for lack of a better term, how is charter education supported in the legislature?
Well,
here's your chance to lobby. That's what I'd say.
Right. So lawmakers, generally in this state, lawmakers are supportive of charter schools, but generally in this state, they're also really fiscally conservative. So there's a tension there. But in the last 4 years, they've been pumping in a lot of money into public education, and that benefits charters as well. I would like to see more money go for facilities for charters. I do think there are some creative ways we could do some things with full faith and credit of the state backing some of these charter schools, especially some of the more mature ones that aren't as risky. So there's definitely work to be done, but I can say to you that watching the legislature pretty closely in the last 5 years, they really have been trying to get more money into public education in this state.
Right, and I mean, is that the biggest thing, though? The state would take a look at helping these charter schools get more money, or I'm sorry, get access to maybe more affordable credit. Because for people that have just moved into the area that aren't experts on charter education, but again, have kids, want to have kids, this is a process that is very different from brick and mortar public ed. Let's say I want to start Kevin Miller's charter school. How do I get the money?
It's a pretty serious process you have to go through. So you have to seek approval from a authorizer. So you have to begin with the local school district. And you have to go to the local school district and you have to say, here's my plan for the school. And then they either say that they want to work with you or they reject you and pass you along. And in this state, when you're rejected and passed along, you go to the Idaho Public Charter School Commission. Then there's a process that you go through with them. Usually it's 6 months to a year that you have to negotiate with them. And we've streamlined that process in the last couple of years. It used to be 2 years or more. You have to negotiate the terms of the school with the state charter commission. You have to show that you're able to actually get students to show up. You have to show that you're going to be able to have a facility solution that actually works. You got to show some competence in education. So there's a pretty rigorous process that you have to go through. And then if you get through that, you can approach an organization I work with called Bloom and see if you can get philanthropic support. And there's others that you can reach out to in your community. But it really is a whole series of conversations. I'm working now with 3 schools that have either just opened this year or in the process of opening. Ton of community conversations going on. You've got to get your community behind it. Sometimes you get the mayor behind it because they can help you with land. There's a lot that goes into this.
Sometimes it sounds like you're starting a business. You need a business plan.
You're starting a business and a school. I think this is both one of the most exciting things you can do. It's also one of the hardest things you can do in public education.
Right. 15 years ago, Compass Public Charter School started. Now they're going to have their own building. They're going to bring both primary and secondary education together. That's a big deal. And again, I think a lot of criticisms that we have of education is, getting parental buy-in. You don't seem to have that problem at charter schools.
No, the parents want their kids to be there. Look, the Compass is what they are doing and what they have done is simply amazing. And you're right, it's taken them 15 years to get there, but they listen to their community, they listen to their parents, they make smart decisions. Are they always perfect? No, but it's been fun to be a part of what they're doing. And it's, I think, with great pride that they are opening this new school in the next couple of years, and it's pretty exciting.
What's your advice to parents right now? Again, we have this influx of people moving in that may not know the difference between Meridian, Kuna, Nampa, Boise, what have you, when looking for that spot for their child to get a great education, to get it started.
Right. So ask your neighbors. I think visit schools. It's appropriate to do. Ask tough questions like you ask tough questions. There's a lot of stuff online. You can go online now and get information on schools and test scores and that sort of thing. I think that can help you narrow it down, but I think you really need to know what you think you're looking for and go and ask questions and visit schools. It's good for you to visit schools anyway. It's good to know what's going on in your community and what's going on in these schools. And I appreciate what you're doing, having these conversations and talking about education. We need to do more of that.
We do, because sometimes we only hear the bad news about education.
Absolutely, too true.
Mr. Ryan, anything else you'd like to add?
No,
today?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and Compass is a great school, and look forward to working with them in the years ahead.
Well, and look, if you have any more suggestions of schools, we're looking to fill up our schedule. So
yeah, I have a bunch of suggestions for you. You want those online, or how do you want to do it?
Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com.
I will get you those.
We'll get on the list.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Take care. Appreciate
it.
Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. CapEd Credit Union, Team Mazda Subaru, promoting our school, securing our future. If you're tuning into the program and go, Kevin Miller, you're a hardcore news show, political show. You've got the contributors, you've got everything else. What is going on here? Well, we are at Compass Public Charter School, promoting our school, securing our future. So many people, again, moving into the Treasure Valley, number one. Number two, you probably might have come in between school seasons. We've been doing this for, I think, 10 years now. I think it's right. Well, no, I've only been here 9. There's some embellishment. At least 7 or 8. Thank you, Phil, for catching me on that one. I think 7 years we've been doing this. This is our 8th year doing it, or 9th year doing it, something like that. I can't remember. But we've been doing this since 2011. We go to 20 schools a year, profiling what's really happening in education. Now, many times education in this state and other states has become a polarizing lightning rod issue, kind of like horse racing is going on right now. A few years ago in the state of Idaho, we had 3 propositions that were passed by the legislature. Then you had a referendum repealing them, and then they went on the ballot to vote. And people were going back and forth on education. We had an issue in Nampa where the school district misappropriated money, and I'm not saying the district itself, but whoever was in charge lost millions of dollars. It was not budgeted. No one went to jail. I believe people resigned and were not fired. You had janitors, custodians. You had the lunch ladies. They all had to privatize. We saw an exodus of the school system. And while this was all going on, I said, there are people every day, despite the negativity, despite the bad news about education, doing good work in Nampa. And it reminded me of a program that I'd started in North Carolina, where we would go to businesses, we would go to schools, and we would just talk to the folks, like the radio you did when we were growing up, right? You'd have the local radio guy. I said, why not do that and focus it on education? And, we had the Dairy Association. We had our friends at Chick-fil-A. And we've had our partners with us from CapEd for many, many years, Team Mazda Subaru, many, many years. As I've said, we couldn't do it without them. And we go to schools. We still talk about the politics. We still take your phone calls. We still talk to the newsmakers. But we, profile what's going on in our community. So that's a history of this program. I do want to remind you, we have a lot of dates in October. It is filling up. Our friends in Wilder, they were our first or second school. It was either Middleton or Wilder were our first schools. And I'm sitting there thinking both of them have issues with levies. So if you live in that district, you want us to take the run, to take the ride, we would love to catch up with those folks in Wilder and Middleton, particularly Middleton because it's just right down the road from where I live. And, hey, it's all about the short commute in the morning. In all seriousness, we are looking for more schools. We would love for you to let us come in and hang out and maybe have lunch with you while we're profiling schools like we're doing Compass today. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Our thoughts and prayers going to everyone associated with those hurricanes in the Carolinas. And as we talked a little bit about earlier, they've actually turned it into political. We have people blaming the president for the hurricane.
You will read quotes from Republicans saying, wow, this is messed up. Well, why aren't you doing something about it? Well, we can't because we really like these tax cuts for the wealthy. We really like that deregulation so polluters can pollute some more. So we'll put up with crazy.
There you have it. That has nothing to do with climate change. That was just the former president talking about the current president putting up with crazy. Your thoughts next, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning. Blessed to be with you. Thanks to our friends at Compass Public Charter School. Big day for them. They're groundbreaking a new building in Meridian, Idaho. So proud of them and all the folks that go into work and, whether you're teaching, whether you're a parent, whether you're a kid, education, as we often say, Lou Dobbs from CNN, now on Fox Business. And Lou Dobbs has some Idaho connections. He was working with migrant workers picking potatoes, right? He always talks about education being the great liberator in our society today, and it is so true now more than ever. Let's go to the phones. We go to John. John, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, John. Josh. Sorry, Josh. I need to get my bifocals on. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm actually calling in to let you know about an event that I'm involved in coming up here in October 13th and 14th in Kuna. It ties in perfectly with your show today. We've got a Renaissance Fair that's going on. Lots of local businessmen and businesses out there, and entertainment and everything else for people. But all the money that we make at this event is going to get donated out to different schools around the Treasure Valley for their arts programs. This year we're doing the Idaho Arts Charter School, and we're hoping to get a bunch of more programs on board for next year. So
now,
wanted to get your take on that.
Why so much about art? Why is art so important, Josh?
Well, the way I see it, if you focus only on the STEM jobs, you're just getting numbers. The arts is where emotion comes into it, and the arts is where people start to actually interpret things. And I think that's something that's really important, and something that's kind of lost on people is, most people only think about the numbers, and they forget about what actually matters. So.
Well, you know that, Josh. You tell your parents, hey, I'm going to be an artist. They look at you kind of funny.
Well, some people do look at you kind of funny. I think that artists are just as important as everybody else. So.
Well, no, I'm with you. That's why I'm giving you the slot to come back at me with.
Yeah.
Because the creativity, the passion. I don't know of a lot of people that have a passion for equations, and maybe they do, but we don't value the arts enough.
We absolutely do not. And me, I actually. I do like math, but I think it's absolutely worthless if we don't have something to put meaning to it.
So if people would like to help, what can they do?
So if people want to help, they can come out to Kuna, the Greenbelt Park in Kuna, October 13th and 14th. The fair starts at 10 o'clock both days, and come out, support your local businesses, support the program itself, donate. We're going to have donation boxes out there. And then also, if you want your school to be involved in this next year, go ahead and give us a nomination for which school to add onto our list. So.
Well, Josh, we appreciate that. Keep calling before the event. We'll make sure we get the word out.
Absolutely. Thank you much.
Thank you. There is Josh talking about an event in Kuna for art education. And speaking of Kuna, it's been a while since we've had our friends at Kuna Middle School or even Kuna High School. Oh, yeah, we're calling you out, and our friends at Columbia, Nampa High, Bishop Kelly, and others. It's funny when they say, well, we never talk about education, and here we have this opportunity. We hope to get more schools. We've got some really good ones coming up, and our friends in Mountain View are next. We're here at Compass Public Charter School. Kevin Miller in the morning, right here in the office, having a good time, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. Coming up next, though, you have people blaming Donald Trump for Hurricane Fran. What will they think of next? First, traffic and weather together.
That's a major assault on the well-being of the people of California and America and the world. It borders on not only insanity, but criminality.
Denying science just isn't a very smart thing to do. And that's one reason I've decided to get so involved in the midterm elections and to try to turn the House over to the Democratic Party. The Republicans in Washington have had years to show that they could lead on this issue, and they have failed. So over the next 6 weeks, I'll be supporting candidates who will take action on climate change and other issues, including gun violence.
There we have it. Greg Pruitt's favorite candidate, Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York. I don't know. No, he never ran for president, thought about it. Governor Jerry Brown of California, talking about climate change. Now we've got this massive hurricane hitting the Carolinas. And look, having lived in the Carolinas, you can expect hurricanes. You live in Florida, or you can expect hurricanes and tornadoes and all sorts of things. To say that it's man-made without any evidence, that's a stretch. If you were listening to Sean Hannity last night, KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Sean Hannity on the radio in the Treasure Valley. Joe Bastardi was on. You're going, well, who's Joe Bastardi? I've worked with Joe Bastardi for years. That's why Sean loves him. He is the best meteorologist you can get. Also a competitive bodybuilder at the age of 63. He's just has so much energy. And I was listening to Joe talk about climate change and calling them, the climate change ambulance chasers. Now, we can agree to disagree or agree to agree on climate change. I just think that it's a leap to blame the President of the United States in this moment of national security and uncertainty for all those people that are hit. Now, for us, if you're like me, I'm watching the Raleigh-Durham television station last night that I used to work for, covering the hurricane in great local journalism, and then the back of my mind thinking, do we really need to see the reporters there? Anyway, but I'm not the person losing their home. We're not the people that are going to sit back and say, do I have a place to go to? And that's real. So can't we put the politics down for a minute? So coming up next, we're going to hear from our friends at Fox. We're going to hear from our friends at Compass Public Charter. And I'd love to hear from you at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, concerning who do you blame? How in the world can you blame Donald Trump? Like Liberty Linda said, you can blame him for a lot of things, but really, the hurricane? Kevin, what will they think of next? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. Oh, there you have it. Ray Amaya, he's in mid-semester form. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, we're going to hear from Rachel Sutherland. We'll get her thoughts on Brett Kavanaugh. He's responding to over 1,200 written questions from senators, nearly all the Democrats. And we'll talk a little bit more about the White House response to the hurricane. A lot going on today, thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union, Team Mazda Subaru, promoting our schools, securing our future. Kevin Miller with you once again. Do want to remind you that 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio is your home for Win Kevin Miller's Cash, and you can listen at 6 a.m. Well, you can listen all the time. We'd appreciate it. You can listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. That's twice during the Kevin Miller program and once during Sean Hannity's show, and you're going to hear me give you a code word, and you're going to go, well, Kevin Miller, what does that mean? Well, the code word is something that you write down. Then you go to KIDOTalkRadio.com to get the link, and you type that in. You know, the more words you get, the more of your chances increase to win up to $5,000. That's right. Win Kevin Miller's Cash. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Let's go to Pete from Mountain Home with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Kevin. I would like to point out that when Obama was elected president, he and the media announced that it marked the falling of the oceans. They were no longer going to be rising, and he had 8 years to heal the environment from all of the evils that humans apparently have inflicted on it. And now Trump's only been in there a year and a half, and everything Obama did suddenly disappears. That's some
right.
pretty weak healing.
Indeed.
And you know what they're really ticked about is Trump pulling us out of that Paris Accord, which was designed to extract huge amounts of money from American taxpayers and give them to the UN and the third world countries.
Well,
and that's all it was designed to do.
Here's what I've often wondered about climate change and everything else. We decide to cut back on pollution in our country, Pete, and then but that doesn't stop China from continuing to pollute, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because they want to electrify. They're building coal-fired power plants like crazy. And, you know, when you get to climate change, and, oh, my gosh, it's never been this horrible, a year or two or three ago, they dug up some graves of Vikings in Greenland. And the bodies were found below what used to be the permafrost. And they said, oh, see, the permafrost is thawed, and so, you know, we were able to dig these graves up. Well, I'd like to point out that the Vikings probably didn't chip their way through the permafrost when they buried those guys. And we had what was called the medieval warm period from about 800 to 1200 A.D., where Greenland was, in fact, green enough you could grow crops there.
Really?
Yeah, and then we dropped back into what was called the Little Ice Age from about 1250 up through 1850 or so. But, yeah, they found those Viking graves below what we thought was the permafrost. And the Vikings, I can pretty well guarantee they didn't chop their way through the permafrost to bury them. So it must have been a lot warmer when they were buried. the Earth's climate changes. It changes all the time. In fact, right now we're in what's called a warm interglacial we are still in an ice age, the Pleistocene, and it started warming up about 10,000, 12,000 years ago. If you want to see some interesting facts on that, look up the Missoula floods, the Great Lake Missoula floods, where various ice dams broke, and a lot of the topography in Washington State is a result of these floods, the Palouse River and others. But
right.
If people think global warming is bad, let me tell you, global cooling is a lot worse.
Yeah, tell that to the dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, and tell it to the people in Europe that were trying to grow crops from about 1300 through 1850.
Sure. Hey, thanks for the mail, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I thought you'd like those.
Hey, can you tell everybody that's not in on the joke what you sent me?
Well, what I sent was some business cards I had made up, and there's two varieties. One has an American flag on one side, the other background is an American flag, and it says, "I would like to apologize to all those I have not yet offended. Please be patient."
Yeah, you sent me a ton of them. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, because, I figure, hey, you offend people. It's you want other people to know that they haven't been left out.
Pete, any other thoughts concerning the hurricane and Donald Trump?
Well, I would like to point out that when it started, it was going to be a level 4, and they were saying that extreme level was something Trump caused, and now it's a level 1. So can Trump take credit for calming it?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's
hey, it went from a 4 to a 1, and he said he was doing everything he could. So obviously he must have calmed it.
Yeah, it must have. It must have been the art of the deal.
Yeah, something like that. Well, good talking to you, Kevin. I'm sure glad to have you back from Washington, let me tell you.
I'm glad to be back, Pete. I'm glad, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, the humidity. Oh.
The humidity, the people, all those things. It's great to be home.
Yep. Well,
all right.
Thank you, and thank KIDO 580 AM and 107.5 FM.
Well, thank you, Pete. You take care.
You too.
Our great friend Pete from Mountain Home. Always good to be back in beautiful Idaho. Joining us now is one of those people. That would be Rachel Sutherland from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So Brett Kavanaugh, over 1,200, almost 1,300 written questions from senators. He responded to all of them, or he's going to respond to all of them?
It's probably a work in progress, but he has a lot of homework, right? I mean, these questions ranged on issues from abortion to presidential power to his personal finances. And in fact, there was a question from Senator Sheldon Whitehouse asking him if he'd ever been treated for a gambling addiction. And he said no, that he's never gambled for money. Apparently this goes back to an old email in which he describes playing dice. But he says he's never gambled for money, doesn't have a problem with gambling. And so, again, these are lots of questions. Many of them are repeats from what was asked during the confirmation hearing. And all of it's kind of been overshadowed by this mysterious announcement by Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein in which she said she would refer the matter to the FBI of potential crime that was committed back when he was in high school, having to do with a woman who's accusing him of something, a woman who's been unidentified. She won't say anything more about it. But at this point, the FBI is just saying this is going in Kavanaugh's files, that there's no open investigation. And the Senate Judiciary Committee appears to be moving forward. And Republicans are saying this is just some kind of last-ditch effort to try to derail Kavanaugh because our sources on the Hill are saying that Senator Feinstein knew about this letter back in July.
Right, but I mean, I just don't understand. So somebody accused him of something, but they're not specific. We're not going to go into details. It happened in high school. It's kind of crazy, Rachel.
Well, and even, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the liberal justice on the court there, was at George Washington University this week talking about the confirmation process, though this happened before this news broke, but said that she wishes things could go back to the way that they were when she was confirmed in 1993. I believe she was confirmed on like a
Right.
96-3 vote.
RBG.
The RBG, yeah, saying this has become way too
Right.
partisan. She pointed out that Justice Scalia was the unanimous vote, and he's extremely conservative.
Those were different times.
Right, and so at this point, unless something, really develops over the coming days with Senator Feinstein and she comes up with new information, I don't see anything really stopping this confirmation. I mean, a vote is set in the Judiciary Committee for next week, and then the week after, probably a full vote in the Senate. Republicans would like to see Kavanaugh seated on the high court in time for the new session on October 1st.
Well, Rachel, another busy week, another busy weekend for you. We so appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you. Rachel Sutherland with the latest on Judge, soon-to-be Justice Kavanaugh. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller in the morning from Compass Public Charter School. We're joined by Ken Skinner and Steve Marsman. They are working on the new building. Big announcement today. Chandler, why don't we move Steve's microphone a little closer to him? And good to have you gentlemen here.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so big day, huh? What goes into building a school?
Well, we're very excited. We have been working on this for over a year.
You guys look a little tired, by the way.
Yeah.
And I could say that because I'm a well-worn guy to begin with. But you're right. There's a lot of energy that goes into it.
A lot of front-end work goes into it. We spend a lot of time on the front end working with the customer, getting them what they want, finding a solution for the budget that they need. So
Right. It's always good when they work within the budget.
yes.
Exactly
Very
right.
important.
And we've been working on this for over a year to get it to this point where we're going to break ground this morning. So we're very excited, and it's going to be a beautiful facility.
So what's the name of your company?
Bauma USA.
All right. How busy have you all been with not only this project but other projects, considering how much more people are moving into the Treasure Valley and how many people are building things?
We actually work national. So we're working on this project here. We're in California, Louisiana. We almost strictly work on charter schools.
Really?
Yes.
And why is that?
It's our specialty. It's what we're really good at. We're good at working with the customers, good at finding solutions to meet their budgets, and we just have a good knack for it, understand what they need. Charter schools are unique. They're not public schools by any means. They have to be built differently. They have to be built to
you have
totally
to really
different budget.
You have to stay within the budget.
Well, and
Right.
public schools get different funding. They get more money for the building that the charter schools don't get.
Right.
So we have to find solutions that build it for less money.
Roughly half the cost of a public school. And so we've developed solutions over the years. We've been doing it for a long time. Our team has built over 200 charter schools all over the country. So it's unique. It's different than building an office building or a medical building, or certainly different than building a public school.
Seems to be a labor of love for you two.
Oh, love
Is it
building
just you
schools.
two?
No.
This young lady here, that's it?
We have a big team.
How important is it that charter schools continue to thrive and grow?
It's very important. Both of us are parents. My kids are out of college, but providing an option for parents and students is very, very important. And charter schools are part of that nationally. So,
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
we're excited to get going.
Well, what's going to happen today with the groundbreaking? You guys supply the shovels, or how does
We
that
do.
work?
I just came from the site. We have a tent set up. We have banners set up. We have everything's ready to go. We had to clear off some weeds off the site, so we're ready to go. We're going to hit the ground running on Monday. Today's ceremonial day to turn the dirt and
Right.
get everybody excited.
Now, it's at Black Cat, and I'm trying to think of the
Franklin.
Black Cat and Franklin. That is amazing, and the public's invited. 10 o'clock today, is that correct?
11.
Yes.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
right.
Fair enough. Get there early.
And
Get
last
there
night
early.
we had a
Get-
great kickoff with our subcontractors, which are mostly local,
Right,
and they are excited to get building the building.
right. Get there early. Maybe you get a shovel.
That's right.
Well, maybe.
maybe a cup of coffee.
Even better.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we appreciate it. I know it's very busy for both of you. Thank you both for making time for us. Appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. We're joined by our great friend, Todd Christensen from CapEd Credit Union. As we said, we couldn't promote our school, secure our future without our friends at CapEd Credit Union. They love teachers, and it shows. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here with you.
Another season starting out here at Compass Charter.
Yeah.
Here for the fall of 2018. You know, it's amazing, and we always talk about finances, personal and professional, and what we've learned today is they're going to have a groundbreaking of a new school. You work with all types of education,
Correct.
Schools and stuff, charter schools, getting that funding, getting that financing, so very important.
Absolutely. You know, you mentioned the financing we do as a financial institution. We've lent to several schools, both public and private, and we're grateful to be a part of this program here today and be able to highlight the great things that are happening across the entire educational community here in the Greater Treasure Valley.
What has happened since our last broadcast in May to now? There's been a lot going on with CapEd, a lot going on with schools. We go from season to season, but you guys don't take the season off.
We don't take the season off. Actually, throughout the summer, we've had our summer reading program, the Read to Rise program, where we celebrated at the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic the top 5 schools who read the most minutes based off of their student population. And this fall and then probably into next spring, we'll be out at those schools with our hot air balloon and being able to inspire youth and young children to be able to continue to gain those reading skills and those proficiencies so they can rise throughout their entire life.
What's the impact the Read to Rise program has had? We just had the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. You were there, Scott Spencer, reading the list of folks, the kids. We were at Amity before they built the big building.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And I saw what happened with these kids. Do they really get into reading?
They really get into reading, and it's an awesome opportunity. You know, we had CapEd's Kids Day on the Wednesday of the beginning of the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. Nearly 4,000 rides to individuals or young children throughout that day. And then on Friday, we were able to celebrate over 100,000 minutes read by youth across the summer. We started the program 3 years ago. We had 3 schools that participated. Last year, we had 7 schools participate. This year, because we instituted some new technology, a tracking app, we had over 20 schools start participating or participated this last summer. And that just continues to grow and build. And it really is encouraging and focusing on the importance of gaining those reading skills at a very, very young age.
More coming up with Todd Christensen. First, traffic and the weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. You know, back again with our friend CapEd Todd, CapEd Credit Union, Todd Christensen. That's it.
I'm glad it's not just me that makes those tongue twisters.
You know, why is it important that the good news in education gets out?
You know, let's pause a moment and look at all the great things that are taking place in the educational community. All too often, I think we find ourselves dwelling on the negative and this challenge and this challenge. And while we have challenges and opportunities to improve in the education community or the educational opportunities, there's many great teachers, great administrators, awesome students that are really doing what needs to be done in our community, and that is educating our youth, mentoring them, and helping them. Oftentimes we think that the educational system is still that institution or that industrialized education. But we have such a variety of opportunities, whether it's here at a public charter school, a private school, public schools, and the amazing things that they're doing. You look at Renaissance High School and the things that they're offering. Our son graduated this last June. Actually, he graduated from ISU with his associate's degree, and a couple of weeks later graduated with his high school diploma. Many people aren't aware of those great things that are happening in our community, and this gives us an opportunity to truly promote our schools and help people understand that we are securing our future.
And especially people just moving into Idaho.
You know, the data that I heard or saw a couple weeks ago is that there's on average 32 new individuals that are moving into the Treasure Valley or the Greater Treasure Valley per day. That's a lot of new people that are coming to our communities, and they're coming to our community for a reason, and education is part of that reason that they're coming here. You know, I had an opportunity to chat with a gentleman this last weekend that his daughter's attending Boise State. He came up here to see what his daughter was doing at Boise State, still has 2 kids at home, and at the end of the conversation he says, we're going to go look at houses this next week because this is where we need to be for our family.
That's amazing, and most of these folks, they're bringing their kids. More with Todd Christensen coming up from CapEd Credit Union on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.